Good morning, church. You open your Bibles to Exodus chapter 25 through 27. It covers a lot of text. We are looking at the plan for his community. And so right now we'll look at the chest being planned. Got some scriptures. The scripture for today we'll try to figure out as we go on. The 8th week, last week, was Exodus 23, verse 20. The week before was Exodus 20, verse 3, and so there's some similarities in those. Behold, I send an angel before you to guard you on the way and to bring you to the place that I've prepared for you. Again, the outline in your notes, context, where we are, we're tracking really good. We're on lesson 9. And on the map, we go up to number 9, the Sinai wilderness. So they've just left the Mount Sinai there, and they're going over here. So that's about where this is all happening. So look at question number 1, and as you can imagine, I had a short night, so I'm going to need a lot of participation and help. So all the text is there. If it's too small, go ahead and read on in your own Bibles. But if you can help me with these questions, that will be good. Looking at verses 1 through 11, specifically right now, verses 1 through 2, what did God tell Moses? Then he said to Moses, "Come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu." What do you know about Aaron, Nadab and Abihu? Nadab and Abihu were the sons of Aaron, and they're going to get into a lot of trouble because they're going to use fire that they shouldn't have used. And then Aaron will have 2 other sons, also part of the priests, and they will take up from there. You and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship from afar. And so there's a group of 4 plus 70 plus Moses, it's about 75. Moses alone shall come near to the Lord, but the others shall not come near, and the people shall not come up with him. So you're going to have one group, they're going to be right at the bottom, not even coming to the mountain. You're going to have another group coming with Moses just to the foot of the mountain, just maybe a little bit up into it, but only one will go all the way up, and that's going to be Moses. Moses alone shall come near to the Lord, but the others shall not come near, and the people shall not come up with him. So what did God tell Moses? Basically, he was telling Moses about boundaries. And then what did he do? Verse 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So looking at verses 3 through 8, it says, Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the rules. And all the people answered with one voice and said, and here's one of those humorous statements again, considering what they eventually ended up doing. All the words of the Lord he has spoken, we will do. Okay, let's say that together. All the words of the Lord he has spoken, we will do. That's what it's all about. You read the Bible, you come to a Bible lesson, you hear a sermon, you do your private reading in the morning or in the evening or both, and you're looking for what the Lord is telling you to do, and your response is, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to debate it. We have every Sunday, this congregation asked Gary if he would go to CTCC, just over there, and whether he would conduct those services, right? And that's what he needs to do. So Gary gets up every Sunday morning, and he doesn't question it. He just goes and does that. And then he comes here. Why? Because we collectively worship as a church. Does he question that? Does he argue about that? No. This morning, when you decided to get up and come to worship the Lord, was that something you debated about? No. Why? Why don't you debate that? Something we do, yes, but why do we do it? Why? What's that? God said do it, right? Okay, so is there any things that we do just out of habit, not because God told us to do it? Hopefully not, right? Hopefully we will keep rotating things out that could become idols. When you come into the congregation in the entrance hall, you see a pulpit. That was the first pulpit. What would be happening if we hadn't rotated that pulpit out? Well, you can't preach a sermon unless you're preaching from that pulpit. There's the first Lord's Supper table there. Well, can't have this table here, And so people have done that. Specifically, I've seen it done with cloths that they put on the Lord's Supper table. You can't serve the Lord's Supper unless that cloth is there. So those are not things we want. We want to rotate things out that can be traditions. And one day we'll probably rotate pews out, because pews can become traditions. We might even rotate our parking lot out, because that could, all those things. The Bible doesn't specifically say a lot of things, and so we need to keep moving around the things that can become traditions and stick to the things that are solid, like attending. Verse 4, and Moses wrote down all the words of the Lord. He rose early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the people of Israel who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen to the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he threw against the altar. Then he took the book of the covenant and read it in the hearing of the people. And they said, again, they repeat, all that the Lord has spoken we will do, and we will be obedient. So now they've added one more thing. We're not only going to do it, we will be obedient. Same thing, but just emphasizing it. And Moses took the blood and did what? Would you have liked to have been in that crowd? Had blood thrown over you? Would you have liked to have been in that crowd? Would you like to have been in the crowd when Jesus said, I'm going to wash your feet? Right? Oh, no, Lord, you're not going to wash my feet. But then what happens? If I don't wash your feet, then you're none of me, right? Okay, then, Lord, wash all of me. No, I just have to do this bit. So in that case, he just needed to do this. In there, he just needed to do the blood. In our case, what did he need to do? Death, burial, and resurrection, right? So how do we do that? We die with him, we're buried with him, and we resurrect with him. So that is through baptism. We're completely immersed. Jesus was completely immersed. 3 days, we say he was in the tomb. And so we do the same thing. So he threw the blood on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant that the Lord has made with you in accordance with all these words. So does God have a contract with us because of our baptism? What does that contract demand? Obedience, right? We hear his word, and it's not something that is just done casually. It was done with his own blood. Let me just ask you to keep your fingers in verse 9 there, and let's go to chapter 10, Hebrews chapter 10, and look at verse 30. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 30. Okay, let's start with verse 29. Hebrews 10, verse 29. How much worse punishment do you think will be deserved by the one who has spurned the Son of God and profaned the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified and outraged the Spirit of grace? So what this is talking about is it's talking about not attending church. It's talking about people who just stop coming to church. And basically, spurn the blood is taking the blood of Christ, pouring it out in front of you, and tramping on it, and kicking dust all over it, saying, I don't respect this at all. So if somebody stops attending services, whose fault is it? Their fault, right? So, Jimmy, if you are in the Cincinnati police and you get a negotiation with somebody who's about to kill somebody, and he's got a gun to somebody's head, he says, unless you do this and this and this, I'm going to kill this person and it'll be your fault. Does that make any sense? Okay, can you imagine seconds after that, the police are going to take that person out. Split seconds after that, he's going to be in front of God. Oh, God, it wasn't my fault. It was Jimmy's fault because Jimmy didn't do, it makes no sense to me. It makes absolutely no sense to me when somebody stops coming to church and says, it's because Chris didn't call me. Really? I mean, really? You're going to go jump in hell and say, it's Chris's fault? I mean, who in their right mind would do that? You have a contract with God. I mean, it's a real important contract. What other contract has ever been made with the blood of God's Son? Right? This is big.
Well? I recall one situation in a previous congregation that we're in where one of the members said to me that he was going to stop coming to see how long it would take before the elders called him.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. He's going to stop coming to see how long it would take the elders to come and call him. Okay, I'm going to drive down this cliff and see how far I go down before, I'm going to, I don't know. That type of logic makes no sense. All it tells me is that person doesn't know what the contract is. They don't understand it. Steve? Yes, exactly. Yeah, let's go to the pinnacle of the temple and throw yourself down, right? No, that's a very good example. Yeah. Okay, you don't want to do that. It makes no sense when people get into that type of thing. Okay, verse 9. Then Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel went up, and they saw the God of Israel. What? Is that possible? Is it possible for us to see God? So what's going on here? There was under his feet, as it were, a pavement of the sapphire stone, like very heaven for clearness. And he said, so if you look through it, you look right through it. And he did not lay his hand on the chief men of the people of Israel. They beheld God and ate and drank. They beheld God. So that next question is, what happened next, verses 9 to 11, and how do you explain this? How do you explain that they saw God? Some people say, well, they just saw his feet. Maybe they just saw his feet, but are we able to see God, any part of God, other than his Son?
Moses, they were able to see as they traveled along, where he said that I will put my hand over you.
Yes.
So you can see my hind parts.
Yes.
So there were parts of them they could see.
So
that he would allow them to see.
in the cleft of the rock, you'll just see like a shadow going by you, I tend to think that what happened here was more vision. They beheld him not as in really seeing him, because it contradicts with the fact that you're not able to see God. Steve? Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, in a vision, yeah. So, don't know how it happened. It's a bit of a trick question, but we can reconcile it by knowing that whatever the answer is, they did not see God. Tom?
Just to think of being able to confine God to a single thing
Yes.
you could see it's impossible. So any way you would see God would be a vision that he lets you see, and of course then be something that you could see.
That's right, yeah. His spirit and he's all over, and so it would have to be something that he presents to you.
Like the burning bush?
Burning bush, something metaphorical. The Word becoming flesh, is the closest we're ever going to be to that, and even that was not designed that we had to have a permanent image of him. That would be a violation of the second commandment. All right, looking at number 2, verses 12 through 18, and read up ahead if you can. Try to get the answers. That'll help me a lot today. What did God command in verse 12? And the Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain and wait there, that I may give you the tablets of stone with the law and the commandment, which I have written for their instruction." That's pretty amazing that God, we read it so much, but God wrote that. God wrote those commandments with his own hand and then gave it to Moses. And so that's what God's command was, that he should come up and come up alone. And Moses, did he do that? Verses 13 through 15. And Moses arose with his assistant Joshua, and Moses went up into the mountain of God. And then it says, verse 15, then Moses went up on the mountain So let me just read through verse 14, catch the context there. And he said to the elders, wait here for us until we return to you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. Whoever has a dispute, let him go to them. Then Moses went up on the mountain, and the cloud covered the mountain. And the glory of the Lord dwelt on the Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And on the 7th day he called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. Now the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like a devouring fire on the top of the mountain in the sight of the people of Israel. Moses entered the cloud and went up on the mountain, and Moses was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. A lot of symbolisms with 40 through the Old Testament. So that's what Moses did. And what were the elders to do? They were to wait. How were they affected in verse 17? Just imagine, you see the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like a devouring fire. How would you be affected? What's the worst fire, Jimmy, you've been in? And what would that feel like? Now you have a fire much more than what you can ever imagine. If you were at the foot or in the midst of a volcano, how would you feel? And that would have nothing on what was happening. Remember, that whole mountain would shake when God spoke. And so there's a lot of trembling. I imagine, you think they would have any fear for God at that point? Okay. There's a lot in the Old and New Testament about fearing God. As being the whole thing that we, Ecclesiastes 12:13, for instance, 12 and 13. We need to fear God. How can we fear God when we don't have this happening to us? How do we get to that point in our lives? We're not in a physical kingdom now, we're in a spiritual kingdom. So how does that happen? Do you need the preacher to get out and really make you scared? Or are we meant to get into this with our minds and understand it and see it with our eyes and hear it with our ears and spiritually open our hearts so we would understand who God is, understand who we're dealing with at any second? He's holding this whole world together. He can loose at any second. When you see things going on in America and you see the fabrics of society cracking, morally on every area, does that bother you? Are you concerned about it? Who's in charge? God. So if God's in charge, what should we be doing? Praying. Don't lose heart. Tell God about it. He knows about it, but implore. Get Him involved. You don't have to worry, really. You don't have to be concerned. God's in charge. He can do whatever He wants to. If you mess with God, you will pay, no matter who you are. And the devil is a deceiver, but he's not on solid ground. If you battle with deception, if you battle from a point of lies, you are on a foundation that can crumble at any second. Satan's foundation, the foundation of evil people, is sand. It's not a good foundation. It's not truth. Tom?
This is a little bit of a departure, but I heard an interview this week with a minister from Great Britain who was asked, how do you minister in a society that has moved on from Christianity, where church attendance has gone from 95% to single digits?
Yes.
And he said it's a purification. He said when it was 95%, those weren't Christians.
Yes.
People that were just identifying with the church for whatever.
Yes. Yes.
Those that are there now are committed to 100%.
Yes.
He said this is the opportunity for the church to move forward.
Yes.
I think the same is happening in our country.
Exactly. It's a definite purification, which means people are going to get more onto the Word. People who profess to be Christians are going to figure out the solid ground. They're going to figure out these other things, trying to appease society, trying to preach a gospel that will make society feel good, trying to entertain people. That's not purification. That's not solid ground. That's not going to last. And so we need to stand on the solid ground. We need to stand on who God is and what He is, and we need to fear God. And anybody that's riling against God, as so many people are today, you shouldn't be angry with them. You should be praying for them. They're in trouble. They're in serious, serious trouble. You don't want to mess with God. Yes.
There's something that kind of catches me. I don't think I've ever really noticed this before, but where he says, him and Joshua are going to go up,
Yes.
Well, that's really cool. Joshua got to see all this. That
Yeah.
was really neat. But he says there in verse 14, wait for us here till we return, and behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. Whoever has a dispute, let him go with.
Yes,
Let
yes.
him go to them. And so he knows he's going to be a while. This is not going to be an afternoon. trip
Yes,
over the
yes.
mountains. It's going to be a bit. And he leaves Aaron in charge with Hur.
Yes.
And it's kind of interesting to me that he trusted Aaron.
Yes.
And yet when he comes back down the mountain in, a month or so, Aaron has built an idol already.
Yes.
And he has already helped the people go into idolatry.
Yes.
So it's just kind of interesting to look and see that how much that Moses put trust in Aaron.
Yes.
And yet Aaron would fail.
Yes.
Aaron would get much better, and he would recover from this.
Yes.
He would be better. But especially, just how it almost seemed offhand.
Yeah, yeah.
Aaron's in charge. Great. I'm going up the mountain.
Yes, yes.
And so it kind of maybe, as we go into the process of looking for elders,
Yes.
don't make decisions offhand.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll be very sure of who is put in charge of things. Because
Yes.
obviously, if you got a dispute, you go to the man in charge.
Okay.
He leaves Aaron in charge, and that was a mistake at that point.
Yes.
Aaron was not ready for that responsibility.
Okay. So during that time, Moses and the law and the prophets later on was going to be it. In the New Testament is Jesus, and he's going to leave, and he's going to leave these apostles. So he selects them very, very carefully. No matter how careful, the apostles, the pillar apostles, messed up. So at the end of the day, we have shepherds. The difference between Moses' leadership and the Old Testament leadership and the New Testament it's corporate leadership. Elders are corporate leaders. Every now and then, an elder will make a decision outside a corporate, and it always, just about always, backfires. It's got to be corporate. So where that is our responsibility, if you we are instant generation, we want answers just like that. Please don't put elders in a corner and ask them for a decision. I call that entrance hall decisions. Can I meet with you as elders? Will?
Aaron succumbed to the pressure of the people. And we have to be careful as members here that we don't put that kind of pressure on the elders.
Exactly.
Because I've heard one elder say in another congregation, if it boils down to where there's only 10 of us that are meeting here, so
Yes.
be it, but we will not,
Yes.
divert from the word of the
Stay in the corporate. Don't talk outside of elder decisions, and make decisions collectively. And members, don't force elders to make quick decisions. Make an appointment. Say, I want to call you guys. You can do group texting. We've got a thing called Summit Elders. It's wonderful. It goes to all the elders, whoever they are. It just brooms, and they all get to read it together. The singular elder in the New Testament, the shepherd, there is a singular. And who's that? Jesus. There is a singular. And who's in charge of the church? Jesus. And who's he left? The Holy Spirit. It's a different ballgame. It's a different ballgame. But we do get into that. We do get into wanting to have a leader, wanting to have a singular leader. And we feel comfortable with that. And it's not a good thing. Moses messed up. Aaron messes up. David messes up. Everybody messes up. Paul messes up. Peter messes up. James messes up. But corporately, it'll work out. Let me ask you a practical question. Single parenting or as a couple, what is easier? Oh my. It is so hard to be a single parent. It is so hard. It is so much easier if you have two, and that is not even good. We say we got 2 elders. We need more, right? Because we started panicking even with 2. So keep going back to God's Word. But a very, very good point. Appreciate you bringing that up very much. So, and were they affected? Verse 17, yes. What did God do? Verse 16, going back, the glory of the Lord dwelt on Mount Sinai, and a cloud covered it 6 days. And on the 7th day, he called Moses out of the midst of the cloud. So this is all done in their presence, and they should have had so much better faith. Steve, they should not have backed off so quick. They'd seen this. I mean, if you're ever going to have the fear of the Lord, it's going to be there. Now, I would have been petrified. I really can't see how I could have messed up here, having just seen God. But no, I wasn't there, so it's not fair to say that. Number 5, going on to, I skipped a few there. Did I miss that? I think I missed that one. Okay, let's go see here. Yeah, let's just go on to question number 5. Read verses 25, chapter 25, verses 1 through 9. Who is to contribute the resources to construct the tabernacle? Anybody know that? The people. And what was their attitude? I think I have it underlined there. As your heart prompts you, as your heart moves you. And what were they to give? See, it's a whole list there, right? It was not just the gold and precious stones and silver. It covered everything. And what was the purpose and plan? Verses 8 and 9. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell in their midst, exactly as I show you concerning the pattern of the tabernacle and of all its furniture, so you shall make it. How do we do that today? How do we make a sanctuary? How do we make a sanctuary? In our hearts. This is the way the tabernacle is going to be. Is this going to be the courtyard, or is this going to be the holy place, or this is going to be the holies of holies? I think so. I think this is going to be the holies of holies. Inside the holies of holies, there could only be the Ark of the Covenant with the mercy seat on top of it. That was it. Very, very, very specific. And the priest once a year could come in. So think about the analogies as we go through this of how all these things work together. All right, so we have this this big area, the tabernacle, the whole area itself is going to, or just the door is going to be 9.1 meters, and the courtyard itself is going to be 46 meters by 23 meters. That's about 50 yards by about 30 yards. And then the actual tabernacle itself was 14 meters long. So yards is a little bit smaller than meters, so my calculations are a little bit off on that first one. But 14 meters long, a meter is about this big, right over there. So 14 of those, and 4.6 meters wide, and it was covered with 4 layers of cloth and animal skins. So inside of it, 4 layers of cloth. It was very, very dark. So let's go ahead and look at some of the things here. I just want to make sure I don't have... There's the mercy seat on the top, and there's the ark. So this is the mercy seat right there, the cherubim right there, God's presence right there. Gold rings, got to have these sticks here, special wood, and you can't ever touch this thing. And it's gold plated. Okay, so looking at the ark, verses 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, the mercy seat, 17, 18, 20, 21, and how it would be carried, verses 14 through 15, and what would be in it is verse 16, and what was its purpose, verse 22. So let's just read this real quickly. They shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be its length, 1 cubit and a half its breadth, 1 cubit and a half its height. You shall overlay it with pure gold, inside and outside overlay. Shall you overlay it, and you shall make it on it a molding of gold around it. You shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them on its 4 feet. So let's go back there and just look at, there's the 4 feet, so it's not touching the ground. 4 feet, going back to the text. 2 rings you shall make of acacia wood. You shall put the poles, verse 14, you shall put the poles into the rings on the side of the ark to carry the ark by them. The poles shall remain in the rings of the ark. They shall not be taken from it. So it's always going to be there. Why do you think you shall never take the poles out of it? If you touch it, you die. If others are walking by it and it looks like the oxen are slipping and it's going to fall, are you allowed to catch it? No. If you touch it, you die, no matter how good your motives are. Verse 16, and you shall put it into the ark of the testimony that I shall give you. And you shall make the mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half shall be its length, 1 cubit and a half its breadth. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold, of hammered work shall you make them. And the 2 ends, on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Make 1 cherub on the one end and 1 cherub on the other end. 1 piece with the mercy seat shall you make the cherubim on its 2 ends. The cherubim shall spread out their wings above, overshadowing the mercy seat with their wings, their faces one to another. Towards the mercy seat shall their faces of the cherubim be. Very, very detailed. Verse 21, you shall put the mercy seat on top of the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony, that's the covenant, the law, the tablets of stone that I shall give you. There I will meet with you, and from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim, there on the ark of the testimony, I will speak with you about all that I will give you in commandment for the people of Israel. So that was the way God gave the testimony to the people. All right, going on to question number 7. Yes, sir?
Just curious about that, or just thinking about that as I'm reading that. I don't remember seeing the hammered part in there. What's the significance of it's hammered? The cherubim are to be hammered as
Yes.
opposed to, I guess, pouring in a mold.
Yes.
You know, they're very specific. Can you imagine who this wasn't created by God and given?
No, it was.
Can you imagine who the people who actually
Yeah,
put that
yeah.
out and created that?
The artisan. It was really, really talented. Yes. That is amazing. And
Yeah, the ultimate.
well, think about Mary being the vessel of Jesus.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. But that's where God's going to live, right? Who that person is. Steve?
That was something else I just hadn't really ever noticed before, or maybe didn't remember, was, the box was made of wood and overlaid.
Yes.
The poles were made of wood and overlaid.
Yes.
The place where God sits was solid gold.
Yes, yes. That's good.
It just kind of seems interesting to me that all the things
Yes.
the things we need to know
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
wooden base to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Where he sits,
Yeah. Pure gold.
and you got to think about the way that looks. When a priest finally goes in there,
Yeah.
any light source is going to sparkle off of those things.
Yes. Yes.